Good day, everyone. So for today's video, we're going to discuss something about probability. First is we have to define what probability is. Probability is a measure of the likelihood of an event to occur. So what does it mean? It means na sinusukat natin yung tsansa ng isang bagay na mangyayari. Let's say for example, mine-measure natin sa probability, mine-measure natin, let's say for example, yung tsansa na uulan today given certain circumstances. Okay, let's say for example, you flip a coin. You flip a coin and you are to measure the likelihood of a tail to occur. Ibig sabihin, kapag tinos mo yung coin, ano yung tsansa na tail yung lalabas. Okay? So that is what is so-called probability. We are dealing with uncertainties here. Si probability, kino-quantify natin yung uncertainty na yon. Okay? So, hence, probability is a measure of chance. Okay? It also says here that a probability can range from 0 to 1. Kung mapapansin natin, yung chance ng isang bagay na mangyayari, kalimitan, inaano natin siya, ina-express natin siya in percent. Let's say, for example, 30% ang chance na mananalo ako sa loto given the certain circumstances. But with that percentage, we can actually what do you call that? We can actually transform or convert it into decimal form. And if we're going to convert that percentage into decimal form, then that probability should be within 0 to 1. Okay? So there are dalawa kasi yung magiging boundaries natin when it comes to probability. That is 0%. 0% ibig sabihin, hindi mangyayari yung isang bagay. And if we're going to convert that into decimal or into whole number, that is 0. And the other one is 100%. Ibig sabihin, sure na sure ka na mangyayari yung isang bagay na yan. And if we're going to convert 100% into a whole number, then that would be 1. Okay, that is why the probability of all possible activities that you may think of is that it ranges from 0 to 1. Okay po? Next, where 0 means the event to be an impossible one and 1 indicates a certain event. So, it means na kapag 0 yung probability, ibig sabihin that would that would be impossible to happen. Okay, hindi siya mangyayari kasi 0 yung chance niya. Okay? While kung ang probability naman ng isang bagay ay 1, ibig sabihin 100%. So, that would be, you are certain or sigurado ka na mangyayari yung bagay na yun. Okay? Let's say, for example, you have a coins on your pocket. What is the probability of you getting a coin? Diba? So, let's say, for example lang, puro coins yung nasa loob ng pocket mo. Okay? What is the probability of getting a coin? Okay? That is a sure event. Kasi, or 100% yung magiging probability mo in such a way na lahat kasi nasa pocket mo ay coins. Okay? So, let us illustrate an impossible event. Let's say, for example, you have coins on your pocket. Coins lang yung nasa pocket mo. What is the probability of getting a bill or perang papel? So, that would be an impossible event. Hindi siya mangyayari kasi yung nasa loob lang ng pocket mo ay coins. So, the probability of getting a bill would be 0. Okay? So, that is an impossible event. So, that is how we differentiate the two. There are actually terminologies that we need to understand para mas maintindihan natin yung probability. And these are as follows. Number 1, we have to know what is an experiment. An experiment is an activity that can be repeated, at least hypothetically, under essentially identical conditions, and that may generate different outcomes on different trials. So, ibig sabihin, itong experiment nito ay mga human activities na pwede nating paulit-ulitin over a period of time. Let's say, for example, you flip a coin, you have a coin, and then you flip it. You can actually do flipping the coin multiple times. Diba? Pwede mo siyang paulit-ulitin. What else? You can also have yung example natin kanina, you're getting a certain amount a certain amount on your pocket, given, let's say, for example, you have a bill or a coin. What else? Let's say, for example, choosing your outfit for the day. Out of all the clothes you have on your walk-in closet, 'di ba? So, yung nagmi-mismatch ka, 'di ba? Yung nagmi-mismatch or not nagmi-mismatch but nagmi-mix match ka ng mga damit na isusuotin mo for the day, 'di ba? So that is actually an experiment because you are actually doing it. You can actually do it repeatedly over a period of time. Okay? To which dun sa mga conditions mo, you can actually generate different outcomes on different trials. Okay? So that is an experiment. So there are a lot of experiment na pwede nating makita sa surroundings natin. And those are just some examples. Okay? So for example, you draw a certain number sa isang fishbowl, 'di ba? That is actually an experiment because pwede mo siyang paulit-ulitin. And on your trials, iba-iba yung outcomes na pwedeng lumabas. Okay? We also have the what we so-called sample space. A sample space is a set of all possible outcomes of an experiment. Okay? So let's say for example, we flip a coin. We flip a coin, just one coin. Okay? This is our experiment. We flip a coin. Experiment. Okay? So what do we mean by a sample space? Tulad ng sinabi dito, a sample space is a set of all possible outcomes of an experiment. Ibig sabihin, ito yung mga posibleng kalabasan ng experiment mo. Okay? Sa sample space natin, this is actually somehow expressed using the form we use in sets. Okay? So, yung sample space na tinatawag, ano may mga posibleng outcome na pwede mong makuha when you do that experiment. And our experiment is flipping a coin. Since we just flip a coin, what are the possible outcomes when we flip a coin? It's either we get ahead, okay? It's either we get ahead or a tail. Ibig sabihin, or sa Filipino, tao or ibon, di ba? Yung sample space na yun, yung mga posibleng outcomes na pwedeng mong makuha dun sa ating experiment. Isa lang naman yung coin na pinlift natin, di ba? So, we either get ahead or a tail. Ibig sabihin, this is our sample space. So, yung mga posibleng outcome, yung set ng posibleng outcomes mo sa experiment mo. But what if we flip two coins? Okay, let's say for example, we flip two coins. This is our experiment. Dalawang coins na po yung flip natin. Okay? We either get dalawang heads, 'di ba? We either get dalawang heads or we get one head or one tail. So depende pa 'yon kung mauuna yung head or mauuna yung tail, 'di ba? And then, meron ding posibleng outcome na dalawang tail yung lalabas. Okay? So these are all possible outcomes on your experiment, and this is the what we so-called sample space. Okay? Next is the what we so-called event. An event is a subset of a sample space. What do we mean by that? Pipili ka lang ng certain outcome dito sa sample space mo. Let's say, for example, this one, getting two heads, or getting two tails. That is an event. Okay? So, that is what we so-called a subset of a sample space. Kumuha ka lang ng part ng sample space mo. So, that is, so for example, the event of getting two tails. Okay? And the last one is element. An element is each outcome in a sample space. So, itong two tails na to, tinatawag po natin siyang element. Itong two heads na to, tinatawag din natin siyang element. Ito ding basta lahat ng posibleng outcome na nasa sample space mo ay tinatawag natin na element. But if you pick one element and you get its probability, then that becomes the event that you are after too. Okay? There are rules and probability properties of probability, and we really need to remember this para hindi po tayo malito sa concept ni probability. Okay? Number one is that the probability of an event is a non-negative value. Okay? Tulad ng sinabi natin din sa definition ng probability, the probability of a certain event ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, bawal po siyang maging negative. Bawal din po siyang maging greater than 1. Bawal din po siyang maging less than 0. It's just from 0 to 1. Doon lang dapat po yung sagot natin. Next is that the probability of a sure event is 1, tulad ng sinabi natin kanina, and the probability of an impossible event is 0. Okay? So there are rules na kailangan nating masunod, okay? Para alam natin yung gagawin natin dun sa mga certain problems natin when it comes to probability. But before that, let us have an example of probability. Let's say, for example, you have three yellow balls, you have two red balls, and five green balls. And you put it inside a bowl. Okay? Lahat ng ito ay nasa isang bowl. Okay? So, we actually have two possible we have, sa sample space natin, pwede tayong, let's say for example, our experiment is drawing one ball. Drawing one ball. Ito yung ating experiment. So, kukuha lang tayo ng isang, drawing one ball. Sorry. Kukuha lang tayo ng isang ball mula dun sa bowl natin. Okay? So, that is our experiment. So, what are the possible outcomes? Yung nasa sample space natin. So, sa sample space natin is we either get a yellow ball, or a red ball, or a green ball. So, these are our possible outcomes na nasa sample space natin. Now, our event is getting a yellow ball. Okay? So, ang event natin is getting a yellow ball. So, what is the probability? The probability is expressed using this form, P, tapos naka-include yung event natin. Let's say, for example, the probability of getting a yellow event or a yellow ball. Okay? So, what is the probability of getting a yellow ball? So, ang ginagawa lang natin dito is, tinatanong natin, ilan ba yung yellow balls na meron tayo dun sa bowl? Okay? So, there are, how many yellow balls? There are 3 yellow balls. Okay? Hence, that would be our numerator. And then, our denominator is the total number of balls we have in our bowl. Okay? So, if we have 3 yellow balls, 2 red balls, and 5 green balls, how many balls are there in the bowl? So, there are actually 3 plus 2 plus 5, that is 10. So, the probability of getting a yellow ball from a fish bowl is 3 over 10. Okay? So that is how we get the probability. Let's say, for example, let's have another example. Let's say, for example, we are getting the probability of getting a red ball. So how many red balls do we have? That we have 2. And then there are actually 10 balls in the fish bowl. So the probability of getting a red ball is 2 over 10, or we can actually simplify it into 1 over 5. Okay? Or we can convert it into decimal. Okay? So that's how we get the probability of a certain event. Now, we have rules that we need to follow for us to get the probability of a certain event correctly. We have this certain rule. Number one is the addition rule. Addition rule states that if A and B are mutually exclusive events, the probability that A or B will occur is the sum of the probability of each event. Or in symbols, that is the probability of A or B equals the probability of A plus the probability of B. What do we mean by a mutually exclusive event? Mutually exclusive event is that these are two events na hindi pwedeng mangyari at the same time. Okay? Hindi siya pwedeng mangyari at the same time. Ibig sabihin, mangyayari muna yung isa bago mangyari yung isa. Let's say, for example, we have a fair die. Okay? We have a fair die or yung dice kung tawagin natin. Alam natin that a fair six-sided die ay merong six faces. We have one dot, two dots, up until six dots. Now, let's say for example, we are getting the probability of getting a one dot or a five dot. Okay? Hindi siya pwedeng mangyari at the same time kasi lalabas lang sa die ay isa lang. Either 1 dot lang or 5 dot. Okay? So what is now the probability? This is our event A and this is our event B. Okay? So what is now the probability of getting event A? The probability of getting event A is that ilang bang phase yung merong 1 dot? Isa lang naman, di ba? And we have 6 phases sa ating fair die. Next is that we have the probability of B. The probability of B or getting a 5 dot is also the same kasi 6 fair or fair six-sided die nga siya. Okay, so now, what do we mean by, or how do we get the probability of getting 1 dot or 5 dot? Ito po ang tatandaan. Kapag or, ibig sabihin addition rule po siya. Okay? So, the probability of getting 1 dot or 5 dot is we just add their probabilities. That is 1 over 6 plus 1 over 6. So that would be 2 over 6 or 1/3. So the probability of getting a 1 dot or a 5 dot sa ating fair six-sided die is 1/3. Okay, so that's how we illustrate our addition rule. Let's have another example. Let's say, for example, we have our deck of cards. We know that we have 52 cards in the deck. Okay, 13 of them are diamonds. Okay, let me just write it in symbols. Okay, 13 of them are diamonds, 13 of them are hearts, and then 13 of them are spade. Okay, so parang ganyan yung spade. And then 13 of them are clubs. Or ang ano natin dun sa clubs ay commonly known as flower. Okay? So ayan. So 13 diamonds, 13 hearts, 13 spade and 13 clubs. Now, let's say for example we are getting the probability of getting a diamond or a heart. Okay, 'di ba? Hindi siya pwedeng magsabay. Okay, so what is the probability of getting a diamond? How many diamond cards do we have in the deck? We know that the probability of getting a diamond is 13 over 52 since we have 13 diamond cards over our 52 cards in the deck. And we have the probability of getting a heart is also 13 over 52 kasi 13 din yung hearts natin din sa ating deck of cards. Now, the probability of getting a diamond or a heart is just the sum of their probabilities. So that is 13 over 52 plus 13 over 52. That would be 26 over 52 or 1 half. Okay? So, 1 half or 50% yung chance na makakuha tayo ng either diamond or heart na card. Okay, so that's how we illustrate addition rule. Let us have the other rule. Let us have the general addition rule. When we say general addition rule, when two events, A and B, are non-mutually exclusive events, the probability that A or B will occur is probability of A or B such that equals the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. Kung kay mutually exclusive events, hindi siya pwedeng mangyari at the same time. Kay non-mutually exclusive events, pwede siya mangyari at the same time. Okay, merong common dun sa dalawang event. That is when we do the general addition rule. And when we say general addition rule, let's say for example, meron pa rin tayong deck of cards. Okay, meron tayong 52 cards kung saan 13 of them are diamond, 13 of them are hearts, 13 of them are a spade and 13 of them are clubs. Now, let's say for example, um, we are getting the probability of getting a heart card, or a king. Okay? A, a, a card of the king of cards. Okay? So we are looking for the probability of a heart or a king. Okay? Kung mapapansin niyo, meron talaga tayong card na King of Hearts. Okay? And that is what we so-called the probability of A and B. Okay, this is our event A and this is our event B. Now, to get the probability of this one, what is the probability of getting a heart? The probability of getting a heart is, again, we have 13 cards na heart sa ating deck. That is 13 over 52. And then, the probability of getting a king card. Ano ba yung probability ng king card? Ilan bang king ang meron tayo sa 52 deck? We have the king of hearts, we have the king of diamonds, we have the king of spades, the king of clubs. So ibig sabihin there are 4 king. We have 4 over 52. That is the probability of getting a card of king. Okay? Now, what is now the probability of heart siya and at the same time, king siya? Okay? Heart na siya, tapos king pa siya. So, that is, ilang bang king of hearts meron tayo sa 52 deck? That is just 1. Okay? Isa lang po ang meron tayo, so we have 1 over 52. So, for us to get the probability of a king or a heart or a king, we have the probability of a heart or a king is the probability of a heart, that is the probability of A, plus the probability of B, the probability of B or the probability of king minus the probability of heart and king. Okay? So, wag pong malilito kung ano yung intersection, basta i-analyze niyo lang yung problem. Okay, so probability of heart, that is 13 over 52, minus or plus the probability of king, that is 4 over 52, minus the probability of hearts and king, that is 1 over 52. And if we're going to simplify this is 13 over 13 plus 4, that's 17, minus 1, that is 16 over 52. Or in simplest, or if we're going to simplify this one, this is what? This is 4 over 13. Okay? So this is the probability of getting a heart or a king. Okay? So you can actually have it in decimal form. So that's how we get the general addition rule. Next is the what we so-called multiplication rule. We have the multiplication rule in the sense that if A and B are independent events, okay, independent events, then the probability of A and B is the probability of A and B equals the probability of A times the probability of B. What do we mean by independent events? Kay multiplication rule, tandaan nyo lang na and na po yung nakalagay. Kay addition rule, or tayo. Okay, again, kapag and, multiplication. Kapag or, that is addition. So, you have to remember this. Okay? Kapag sinabi nating multiplication, or kapag sinabi nating independent events, these are events na pwedeng mangyari. Okay? Pwedeng mangyari yung isa kahit hindi nangyayari yung isa. Okay? So, yun po yung independent events. Okay? So, let us have an example. You have 3 dresses, or 3 blouse, sorry. Let's say, for example, you have 3 blouses, and then you have 4 jeans. And then, you also have, um, you also have 5 jackets. 5 jackets. Okay. So let's say for example, we have this one. We are looking for the probability of getting a blouse and a jean. Okay? Kasi for example, walang ilaw dun sa kwarto mo, and then you are to pick a certain cloth on you a certain clothes on your walk-in closet na hindi mo nakikita. So what is the probability of getting a blouse and a jean? Okay? So or a pair of jeans. So we have here and na po ito, so we have the probability of blouse that is 3 over. So ilan po lahat ng clothes sa walk-in closet? We have 3 plus 4 plus 5. That is 12. Or we have here 1/4. The probability of getting a jean or a pair of jeans is 4 over 12. So that would be what? That would be 1/3. So for you to have it, we have the probability of getting a blouse and a pair of jean is 1/4 multiplied by 1/3. So that would be 1 over 12. So this would be the probability of getting that event. Okay, so that is given if your events are independent. Okay, independent event. Ibig sabihin, pwedeng mangyari yung isa kahit hindi nangyayari yung isa. So now, what if we are given the circumstance na dependent yung events. Kapag dependent naman yung events, ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng mangyari yung isa hanggat hindi nangyayari yung isa. Okay? So that would be what? Let's say for example, for us to get the probability of dependent events, we have the probability of A given that B happens, or the probability of A and B given that A and B are independent events is what? The probability of A multiplied by the probability of B such that A already happens. So, kailangan nangyari na po si A. Okay, so let's say for example, we have the cards in the deck. Okay, what is the probability? Let's say for example, our experiment is drawing 2 cards in the deck. Okay? 2 cards successively, so magkasunod. Ibig sabihin, pagkabunot mo ng isa dun sa una, you have 52 cards. Pero pag bunot mo dun sa pangalawa, hindi na 52 yon. 51 na lang yung mamimili kasi nakakuha ka na ng isa before. Okay, so let's say for example, you are drawing 2 cards and you are getting the probability of getting a heart and an ace card. When we say ace, ito po yung letter A or yung number 1. Okay? So, what is the probability of getting a heart and an ace? So, we have the probability of getting a heart. That's our event A. The probability of getting a heart is what? The probability of getting a heart is 13 over 52 because we have 13 hearts in the deck or 13 heart cards in the deck. And then, minus the probability of B such that A happens. Kasi for example, nakakuha ka na ng isang heart na card. Okay? So, ilang cards na lang yung matitira sa deck mo? That is 51. Okay? So, that is 51. So, ilan ngayon yung ace na nandun sa yung ace na nandun sa card mo. So, we have 4 aces, di ba? So, the probability of getting an ace such that you already got a heart card is 4 over 51. And you just simply what? You just simply multiply their probability. So, this would be 13 over 52 multiplied by 4 over 51. That would be what? That would be 1 over 51. Okay? So kapag sinimplify lang natin siya, so that this is actually 1, and then we have here kapag minultiply natin yung dalawang fractions, so this is 13, and then you have that one. Okay? So the probability of getting a heart and an ace is that we have 1 over 51. So that's how we got the multiplication rule given that our events are dependent. Okay? Dependent. And lastly, we have the complement rule. So the complement rule states that the sum of the probabilities of an event and its complement must be equal to 1. Ano pong ibig sabihin nun? Let's say, for example, we got the probability of getting a heart sa isang deck. Probability of getting a heart is 13 over 52. So what is the probability of not getting a heart? So, ibig sabihin, yung ibang card. So, that is 13 over 52 plus or minus 1 minus 13 over 52. So that would be what? That would be 39 over 52 kasi yun yung hindi hard. Okay, so yun lang po yung tinatawag natin na complement rule. And that's how we have the probability.